from your local election headquarters, the only locally produced political talk show discussing the issues that matter to you. This is Big Country Politics on KTAB.
A piece of Big Country history could be removed from the textbooks. Why the Texas Board of Education wants to remove the WASPs from the lesson plans, and how the push to get voters to the polls has changed over the years, how door-to-door canvassing is impacting the elections. Thank you so much for being here for this week's Big Country Politics. I'm Victor Sotelo, and joining me is Taylor County Republican Party Chair Winston Ohlhausen. Thank you so much for being here. And the Democratic Chair here in Taylor County, Christina Davis. Thank you all so much for being here. We're here on our last show before Election Day. And this is why we wanted to have you guys here. Thank you so much for being here.
Sure.
And first of all, I just want to give you a chance to introduce yourself to our audience. Christina, you go ahead and let people know who you are.
Sure. I'm Christina Davis, and I've lived in Abilene since I came here for college in the late 90s, so a very long time. I have been a professor here in town. I'm now working as a PR specialist at one of the universities, and just really glad to be here. I have a family, a daughter and a husband who also live here, and so just been an Abilenian for a long time.
Tell us about your path to the chair of the Democratic Party.
I mean, I've been involved in politics for as long as I can remember. My dad worked for Charlie Stenholm. My first political job was with Charlie Stenholm, and I loved working for Charlie. He was great. And so, you know, I started there in college and then have continued to work for various candidates and various people throughout my career. My PhD is actually in political rhetoric, so I talk a lot and think a lot about words and politics. And so this is just kind of a natural, you know, fruition of a lot of the work I already did.
Well, we're trying to get Mr. Stenholm on this show, and I had a conversation with him the other day just about that.
Yeah.
It was nice to talk to him. Mr. Ohlhausen, let's talk about you and introduce yourself to our audience.
Well, I was born here at Hendricks, up on the 5th floor. And the family has been here since 1915, the Ohlhausen family.
Wow.
And the reason the Ohlhausen family is here is because that Christian school out on the hill.
ACU.
My grandmother wanted her kids to go to that Christian school, so we've been here. And for a number of years, I was an air traffic controller in the mid-cities area. And but I've been back farming too many years, many years.
Well, how did you become the chair of the Republican Party here?
Well, back in the early 90s, I wanted to be involved in stuff, and I didn't like the way the country was going, but I thought I was the only one that thought that way and that could do anything. But actually, it was somebody turned me to listen to Rush Limbaugh.
Uh-huh.
And I found out I'm not the only one that thinks like that.
Uh-huh.
And so I started trying to find ways to participate, to be involved. And when Mr. Neugebauer ran here locally, well, I got with Paul Washburn, and we worked in that campaign. And gradually, some of us wanted a group that represented the conservative Republicans. We started the Pachyderm Club, and I was made president of that, and slowly evolved over time that I was elected chairman of the Taylor County Republican Party.
And it was Neugebauer that beat Stenholm in that race you're talking about.
I tried to get Charlie to change parties, and he wouldn't do it.
He's a Blue Dog Democrat.
No, he would not.
That was Charlie Stenholm. Well, let's talk about you mentioned, Christina, that that you study rhetoric. I mean, what a topic now.
Yeah, right.
Tell us your thoughts on the recent rhetoric. A lot of people, Mr. Ohlhausen included, we were talking before the show, are blaming it on the media. Others are blaming it on the president himself and Twitter.
Right.
Talk about that.
No, I mean, I think that I wouldn't blame the media. I really think that what has happened is we have a president and we have people who have kind of come out of the woodwork, that there's a certain language or a certain system of beliefs that for a long time was kind of hidden, and that the president has kind of allowed that to come out into the open. And so we're seeing a lot more of kind of really ugly rhetoric and really ugly things that people are saying because it's become more accepted.
Mr. Olhausen, talk about that. Is it more accepted, and is it because people are maybe taking the president's lead?
I appreciate the president's Twitter. He needs a way to get the message out. In the past, Republicans have had a problem of getting the media to cover the president, and we have had presidents that wouldn't really stand up. And it is a blessing for the country to have a president who loves America and will not shut up.
Well, and that's what a lot of people are saying. This is really a way for him to reach out to the people when the media won't do it.
That's it. Over the years, that's just one of the benefits of being old. I've been around to see the change, how the media, how the Democrat Party actually has changed. Some of the old people who still think they're Democrats, this is not the same party that the Democrats were. The left-wingers, the socialists, have taken over the Democrat Party nationally, and it's not the same party. And the media has been part of that, have been so infiltrated with the big government, socialist, left-wing, that so much of it is controlled. That's their outlook. Mm-hmm. It's shocking to me that the lack of common sense in some of the reasoning in the media.
And Christina, I want to give you a chance to respond to that. He's saying that the Democratic Party has changed over the years. We'll talk. I'm just going to let you respond to his.
Yeah, it's interesting because I find that very ironic, because I think the Republican Party has changed over the years. I mean, if you look at Ronald Reagan and a lot of the policies and things that Ronald Reagan advocated for, you know, those would be considered socialist now by Republicans. So you've seen a big shift, I think, in the Republican Party to the more right-wing kind of Tea Party part of the party.
Well, so we're talking national politics right now. I want to bring this back to our local Texas and even locally here in Abilene. I want to get to that a little bit later on in the show, but let's talk about, first of all, statewide. What are you seeing statewide from the Democratic Party right now?
We're seeing a lot of enthusiasm, which I think is really helping us out, because we're seeing a lot of people who are coming to some of the larger campaigns, such as Mike Collier's campaign for Lieutenant Governor. Of course, the big one is Beto's campaign for Senate. And so it's really bringing a lot of people, independents and some Republicans, who maybe previously would not have looked at the candidates in the Democratic Party to look at us.
I'm going to give you a chance to respond to that, Mr. Olhausen, when we come back on Big Country Politics. Still ahead on Big Country Politics, a big piece of history could be taken out of the textbooks, and how Sweetwater students and educators are pushing back. We'll be back on Big Country Politics.